friend of mine with an NDIS business, he said to me a little while ago, "Hey Jamie, I want to show you how I'm using AI." And he got one of his clients NDIS plan and cut and pasted it into the free version of ChatGPT and asked it for some information or summarize it. And I was horrified that he had done that, but he thought that he was a hero and had done a great thing. So it highlighted to me the big gap in understanding about um, data privacy, where your data goes and where it's stored with AI tools. So that's one of the drivers between us for us to develop our tool, Hippo. What I want to do is go through an example of what happens to your data when you use AI tools. ChatGPT, for example, I might have a file. So perhaps I've got a client and I've got their care, NDIS care plan or something. You can see it's got, yeah, a lot of contact information, medication, stuff like that. So there's a lot of confidential information that you wouldn't want to disclose to the public. And if I just paste that into ChatGPT, summarize this NDIS care plan to a few standout bullet points, including medications. And it saves me reading that whole document. I can just quickly look at the notes here. So it saved me a bit of time. What happened? What happened just then with the data? So here we are in Australia. We're using the web browser, and I got the client's data. I put it in the browser. It went across the internet to ChatGPT in the USA. It stores that conversation on OpenAI's servers in the US. And if you haven't set it up right, so if you're either using the free version or if you haven't switched off the right privacy settings, they will use that data to train the next version of ChatGPT, potentially. And in that way, your data could indirectly be exposed to the public. So that is, somebody asked, what medication is John Doe on? ChatGPT 5, when it comes out, might be able to answer that question and tell you details about that person. We have in Australia got the Privacy Act, and the Privacy Act says that if you disclose data with a third party overseas, it's your responsibility to ensure that it comes under the same protections and regulatory framework as in Australia. So then that becomes problematic because you can't really control what third parties do. The US government could subpoena that data, for example. In some industries like NDIS, it doesn't matter how small you are. You might be a sole trader. You still have to adhere to the Privacy Act. So what do you do about this? Well, if you're a business dealing with confidential data, particularly in the medical space, finance, legal, or defense, what you should do is try to use processing and storage that stays within Australia so that you're not breaching the Privacy Act. So we've developed a tool called Hippo that's a bit like ChatGPT, but it's all on Australian servers. So it uses Azure servers in Sydney, and the ChatGPT model on Azure that we use is hosted in Sydney. So all the processing and all the storage happens within the Australia region. And we're making the promise we'll never train AI models on your data. If you look at OpenAI, what's their goal? Their goal is to make artificial general intelligence. They want to make better and better models. And the way they do that is with more and more data. So you're always trying to have to switch things off with them, don't you opt out. For us, we're trying to help businesses use AI on their data. We're kind of like developing business use cases. I could give you the same example here if we use Hippo, and we can just start a new chat, put in the same data and say summarize this document and what happened when we did that is we put the client data in, it went into language model and the conversation history that you can see on the left here. So it's getting stored. All of that happens on Azure in Australia. So what other options are there? If you're a Microsoft house, the kind of default solution for this at the moment is to use Microsoft Copilot. Google Gemini, it seems less clear that you can set it up to stay in Australia. You have to opt out of the model training with the data. So Copilot say they won't use your data for training Copilot. But again, Google is a company that is building better and better AI models, and they need data to do that. and you're part of the product. A third option is that you use open source models or put together APIs provided by these big tech companies and build your own solution. Obviously, with Hippo, we're privacy first. So the idea is you don't have to worry about all that, setting it up right. You don't need an IT team to set up Copilot. You don't need to keep monitoring and changing things. We just promise you that we're going to keep your data secure in Australia. Today, when you're using AI tools, make sure you understand where your data is stored and where it's processed. And to stay compliant with the Privacy Act, keep your data and processing in Australia.